Good afternoon. Thanks for joining today's webinar, Easily Manage Your Video Network with Siqura's VDG Sense. My name is Connor and I will be your moderator. Just a few housekeeping things to run through before we get started. All phone lines are muted, so if you have any questions, please go ahead and use the chat feature within your GoToWebinar toolbar. Presentation should last about 45 minutes or so, which will give us some time for questions at the end. And by attending today's session, you are able to earn TARP points through IMSA. For those of you who went ahead and provided your IMSA number during the registration process, Western Systems will go ahead and take care of that submission for you. A copy of today's slides are available within the handout icon in the GoToWebinar toolbar. And lastly, this webinar will be available to be viewed on demand anytime. You'll get a follow-up email tomorrow with a link to do so. Okay, with the housekeeping out of the way, I'm excited to introduce today's presenter, Josman Infante, Solutions Engineer Manager at Siqura, and Western Systems Territory Manager, Kai Antrim. Kai, I'll turn it over to you.
Right on. Thank you, Connor. And thank you, everybody out there, for tuning in. Hope everybody's staying well and healthy as best you can in these weird times. Don't know how well you guys can kind of see my screen, but my office, the downstairs of my house has been pretty well converted into my very own traffic management center. So like all of you guys, work is creeping into the personal life, but I've been looking for a good use of the downstairs of my split level for quite a while now, and it fits all of my traffic equipment in there nicely. So if you guys are bored or sitting around at home, as you know, you can earn TARP points doing this. So please reach out to your territory manager at Western Systems. We're happy to put on some webinars or some technical sessions. Now's a great time for accomplishing some of those little tasks that we can never get around to doing when we're busy in the normal swing of things. So we're trying to make the most of it and keep business moving along as usual, or as usual as possible. A little bit about what we're doing at Western Systems. We're still open for business, still got the manufacturing floor open. We were deemed kind of an essential business by Washington State. So we are still building cabinets, distributing products. The only difference you'll notice is we're not doing any in-person meetings for now, but we've got this GoToWebinar thing figured out, and we think that it's pretty good for a lot of the things we might be needing to do. So before I turn it over to Josman, just a little bit about Western Systems. Looks like most of you guys know us, but we're headquartered in Everett, Washington. We've been around since 2001. Originally, we were building traffic signal control cabinets for the transportation industry, and since 2001, the last 20-ish years, we've been moving into all areas of roadway use. One of the main things that people are interested in now is getting eyes out on their street and putting videos out so they can monitor traffic flow remotely, making kind of subtle and not so subtle changes that allow you to be more proactive in managing your traffic signal network. So one of our partners that we work really well with is Siqura. They handle the Sense, which is our video management platform, as well as have a full product line that I'll let Josman get into a little bit more. But one of the things about this, you guys can listen to us give our pitch, but I'll also provide you guys some of the use cases in the area so that you can see and even make a phone call up to some of the agencies that are actually successfully using this product. One of the things we like about Sense is its scalability. It handles both, the small cities that we have kind of in Washington State, but it's also a modular system that we can make as big as you need it to. So for some of our cities, they're only using kind of a free version that can handle up to 4 camera licenses, but on kind of a larger scale, we're in the throes of rolling out with the help of Siqura and a bunch of the people down in the Southwest region, an interagency video sharing project between Clark County and WashDOT Southwest region. So I saw a couple people from that region were signed up for the webinar, so we appreciate you guys filling in. But that's a group project that could be scalable to up to a couple hundred cameras using different servers depending on their requirements. Another thing that we're starting to see increasing in popularity is as people are upgrading their video detection systems, they're finding that also provides a good way to bring back some eyes out on the street without adding additional hardware. So Sense is set up to take inputs from your video detection cameras and project that onto a video wall. So we've got a number of agencies that don't have any specific video hardware equipment. They're just using the software side. So I'll let Josman get into that a little bit more, and please feel free to use the question bar, and we'll get to questions at the end, and certainly follow up with us with any questions you have. This is just meant to be a high-level overview and kind of an introduction to what we're able to do. So without further ado, I'll turn the floor over to Josman, and I hope you guys enjoy the presentation.
Thank you, Kai. Thank you, Connor. Thank you, everyone, for coming and participating today in this webinar. Again, Josman Infante from Siqura. This is today we are presenting our software, our video management software for CCTV surveillance, as well as managing video from your ITS networks or any type of video network that today is utilized for security or for any other type of applications. So, starting this presentation today, we're going to talk a little bit about our factory. Siqura is actually a factory that is part of a group of companies. That is the holding and main headquartered company is a Dutch group called TKH, and this group was found in 1930s. In 1930 was found this group as a factory of basically cabling in the Netherlands. And over the years, as you can see in this slide, the factory has been changing and introducing new products and new product production lines in different areas of the cabling solution technologies. And over the years, this Dutch manufacturing company was acquiring other factories to expand of course, the market presence, but as well the solution to complete more the solution on each different market. And today, the holding group, TKH Group, basically owns different factories for 3 different markets. The one is the telecom market, the other one is industrial market, and the other market is called building security or building solution market. And basically, the building solution is where we Siqura are part of this group of companies that conform the building solutions for TKH Group. So Siqura, it's based in Siqura office or factory. It's based in Germantown, Maryland. Our, as I said, headquarter office is in the Netherlands, and this group produces a revenue of 1.7 billion with all the group companies that they are part of the group in all the 3 different markets that I already mentioned. Of course, up to 6,000 employees all worldwide and presence on 24 countries. Siqura was initially, before becoming part of actually TKH, was named Optelecom, and as an Optelecom US-based company, was a factory producing fiber optic transmission equipment for critical infrastructure for all the CCTV, analog CCTV solutions that ITS solutions were using out there in our highways and roads. They utilize fiber cabling to transmit the video or the serial data to control PTZ cameras or other devices like variable message signs on the road, etc. All those devices on this kind of long distance infrastructures were utilizing fiber, and the transceivers and receivers devices that were used and continue being using in many places. We are one of the factories that produces those devices. And as Kai mentions, we Siqura as well are operating our production line still because we provide these type of solutions for critical infrastructures for the highways, and we need to be in operation for the cars and transceivers and receivers that they may need. So our production is still operating in the factories with special, of course, safety measures that we are taking to protect our employees and, of course, our customers as well. So over the years, Optelecom was acquired in 2011 by TKH Group and became part of these holding companies that conform the CCTV solutions that TKH offers today in different areas. This is just a quick overview of our office in the US. We have a group of sales guys who moves around the US territory. We also have a presence in Latin America, and we have I'm the lead engineer for the engineering supporting team in US office, and we have of course an operational manager, which is Amy Fleck, who controls all the logistics of the products that are produced in our factory in Germantown, Maryland. All right, so let's jump directly into the subject today. Siqura offers a VMS, a video management software called Sense. And Sense is a client-server software that that can be used in different ITS applications or any other type of video applications, and can manage all the cameras, whether they are existing cameras or new cameras, if the system is being expanded. And it's an open architecture, meaning our software allows third-party cameras from different manufacturing and brands and models, as well as it can be integrated with other third-party systems through the API interface that is also offered in our software. It allows to control, like any CCTV system, the live video, the playback videos, and as well as events, and also do other automatizations with rules that can be built into the system depending on the circumstances or the requirements of each application. It is a very user-friendly system. It's easy to customize and basically build and design the front-end interfaces of the operators to what is required for each application. And we will see later on what I mean with the flexibility of this interface. It is scalable, meaning the system really doesn't have a limitation of the numbers of servers that can be added to the whole system. Every server, indeed, software-wise, has certain limitations, and we will see later on when we talk about the licensing, what each licensing offers. But the limitation, the real limitation, comes from the hardware where the software is being installed and running. And it's a flexible scalability also goes beyond the number of cameras supported by the server, which the software do introduce a limit, but the fact that you can add more servers to the system, it actually expanded the capabilities very easily. And of course, it supports one of the standards in the market to be able to integrate with third-party cameras that are not natively installed or integrated in the software, which is the ONVIF support. All right, so let's jump into some of the key features that makes our software different to other VMS software. We again talk about user-friendly interface. It is indeed one of the key features because the software is 100% customizable. You really can design your own interface, your own layouts or templates of the information and how you want it to be presented on your screen. So that flexibility adds to the system a very strong feature that makes the system easily to adjust to existing users. That if we know very well, in most of the systems, especially our, software systems, one of the biggest challenges is how easy I can make my new users to adapt to this new software. So instead of making the users to be able to adapt to the new system, we actually make our software to adapt to what the users are commonly, used to use, in other words. And this feature allows the system to flexibly and more easily be accepted by new operators that could be perhaps by many years used to a certain layout of the interface that they were used to work with, and now suddenly if you just want to change and introduce a new solution, this is the first, let's say, the barrier that you can encounter when you're introducing a new software. It's, how do I do things now? Can I do it the same way I used to do it, or do I have to change all over my mindset to do things differently? So these kind of barriers are easily taken over by our user-friendly interface and customizable interface. It has a very powerful macro engine, and with this being one of the nice features, it introduces an automation of the actions that can be taken by the system to perhaps alert operators or change views, or even enable disable recordings, or move cameras that have movement like PTZ dome cameras to certain positions automatically. And all these rules can be built in a very easy, friendly interface in the system. Normally, of course, these macros are built by administrators or management users that we provide initial training about how to create macros. We do have a lot of information on our website also how to build these macros. It's not, again, let me make sure that I make this clear, it's not a programming interface. It is more creating rules by certain logics, by criteria that triggers these macros and actions that are executed based on those triggering criteria. And it helps automate the systems and make it more friendly, more efficient also in the reaction. So the human being who is operating the system not necessarily have to spend too much time in front of the monitors and be able to use their time to do other duties within the facility, while the system is automatically doing many other alerts by these rules. Also, it is an open architecture I mentioned earlier, and these open architecture, I think we today support, give it a take, maybe more around 500 different type of cameras and multiple brands. And most of these are by native drivers, but we do have certain brands that normally use the OnVIF driver because this new standard facilitates the integration and makes it easier and quicker for developers. The system itself also offers through the interface a system performance monitoring tool that administrator or management users can look into it and learn how the system is operating, and learn how the cameras are working within the system, what kind of traffic the cameras are generating to the systems, and whether their cameras are connected or not, and so on. And so it gives an overall idea of how the system is performing, but also how each individual camera is actually performing as well. The third-party connectivity interface, it's a very easy HTTP-based interface on XML type interface that also provides channels to integrate with third-party. We already have certain third-party systems integrated with Sense, like Lenel, OnGuard, access control systems, and like other within the TKH Group organization. For the building solutions, we also have in Europe many other security systems like access control, like intrusion detection, and so on, that also are integrated through these API. And in the API, not only integrate the system with third-party softwares, but also can be used to integrate with third-party smart devices, like cameras with built-in analytics, and so on. So this interface makes a short, quick to deploy option to integrate smart devices into the system as well. And why we say the server-based intelligence is offering this software is because we do have analytics modules that can be purchased to do certain analytics on the server level, like object recognition, to do intrusion detection and object detection, as well as LPR detection for vehicles on parking lot entrances and roads with with low speed, basically, traffic. All right, so Beside all these key features, we also have features that were added to the system in a project-driven kind of approach. Our software it's easy and friendly to adapt to certain circumstances and applications, and the fact that offers such flexibility, also our R&D team is able to evaluate special features that we encountered over the years with different projects, and those features were added to the system as an add-on functionality that initially satisfied that specific requirement, but perhaps in the later on future immediate future the other applications or other customers with similar applications get advantage of having these features and functionalities now available for them as well. So some of these functionalities you can see here were created for specific projects, like transcoding an engine and limited bandwidth capabilities. We enable in our servers a functionality that allows the server to manage the bandwidth for situations where it needs to be more efficient, and those features can be enabled, disabled in a server, such way that it operates better for certain users that have limitations in the bandwidth connection. And as you can see in this list, there's a lot of, I don't want to go in detail all of them, but you can see some of them are functionalities that are project driven and specifics. We do create a dual streaming live video display capability. And when I try to say with that, it's every time you decode a video from a camera in your workstation, you are using processing power to decode that stream and be presented on a panel. Today, with the cameras offering much higher and higher resolution, with the technology evolution that so fast as it is today, the challenge on the decoding of these the resolution streams multiple times within the same interface or the same view, it's challenging for the processing and the amount of resources utilized to do so in a fast and low latency way. And in order to do that more efficient, what we have done in our software is an automated switching capabilities within the software between a high resolution stream and a low resolution stream that can be utilized at any given time when it's really required to use one or the other. What I'm trying to say with this is, for example, if you have a 1080p monitor resolution and you are trying to utilize a 3 megapixel or the 2 megapixel or higher resolution, only you're really gonna get advantage of the detail that these HD resolutions offer when you are viewing the image in a full screen mode, because then your screen and your resolution supported by the monitor and your graphic cards, right, are able to deploy and decode and show all the detail of the high resolution definition on these images on your screen when the panels are in full screen mode. But when you are viewing multiple cameras in your monitor, name it 4, 8, 16, 24, etc., the panel's size are reduced, so you're no longer really viewing a 1080p size image on your monitor. You are actually looking at a 1080p possible or higher resolution image in a smaller resolution that is compacted by the decoding software to be able to present it on every small panel. But in doing so, again, you're not getting advantage or be able to utilize these detailed information from the images or perceive, right, this detailed information of the images in the small panels. Only you will be able to do so when you have these panels in full screen mode. But the processing needed is still high because the stream that the software is using is a 2 megapixel or higher stream. What we've done with these dynamic automated switching capability is that the software knows, and you can tell the software what is the maximum size of the panel that you want the software to use on a high resolution stream, So when the panel is smaller than that size, it will not utilize the high resolution stream. Instead, it's going to utilize a smaller resolution stream. And with that, the software asks the camera, give me the low resolution stream instead of the high resolution stream. So you are making more efficient the use of the CPU, but also the use of your network bandwidth that is being received and traveled from the camera to that workstation. So this technique actually makes it, maximize the benefit that you can get on a workstation or a video wall server, perhaps, to utilize more efficiently the resources that the CPU can offer, and how many cameras you can simultaneously deploy or decode in your video wall or your workstation. So that's one of the key features that we also offer in the software. The search capabilities in the software is also being improved to utilize more options and more, depending whether the metadata that is generated by the cameras or by the software itself. The search options, are more flexible and allows you to do more smart search within the areas on an image, perhaps to filter out motion, or perhaps to filter out colors within the images, or at some point with a third-party integration that we have with other analytics softwares in the market, like BriefScan, like HERT. I don't know if you have heard of them. These are more analytics specific, or focus more on a specific type of analytic. These kind of integrations also allows our software, through this advanced smart section search options, be able to do a more advanced search of type of objects and colors and so on. So the metadata is being obtained from these third-party integrations that are processing advanced analytics, and be able to do more filtering on the data, and be able to be more efficient on finding or do perhaps forensic search, etc. And yes, over the years, it's very common now that customers want to also have efficient usage of the hardware in their own network environments and network rooms. So the VMware support is one of the key features that we normally, many customers ask today, if we supported it, such a way that they can get advantage of that. And that is also supported on our software. It doesn't cost or doesn't have any extra cost. It's just basically a requirement that need to be specified, so we know when we generate the license that it needs to be a VMware license support. All right. So all these functionalities that we already mentioned so far are included on the regular licenses in our software. We have add-on features like you see here. Some of them are already included. Some of them requires an extra license per camera. The CAR-R is the LPR engine that can be done on the server level, and do the license plate recognition. The Object-R is the object recognition that I mentioned earlier for intrusion detection or perimeter intrusion detection. And that's also a separate license that can be acquired per camera. We also offer face detection, which is basically an algorithm that is included with the software that does the face detection. It does not do face recognition, but it does face detection and can generate alerts on faces that have been detected on any area or any camera that is controlling and monitoring out there, and then provide alerts and events based on those detections. In color detection, this feature is also a functionality included in the software. It's utilized in parking lots, or maybe where the entrances want to be monitoring, control which vehicles get in and which vehicle gets out, and control the safety of the vehicles that are getting in and out are the right vehicle, and nobody has changed plates perhaps between the vehicles. So we also can verify the color of the objects going through the entrances and create alerts on those detections. And SceneR is another algorithm built into the software as well that offers a background analysis. And it's very useful for fixed cameras where they are supposed to be looking at certain area, and if there is any big change, or depends on the sensitivity, of course, but if there's some changes in the background that you want it to be alert and notify, the SceneR can generate these alerts, because it will utilize either references, pictures of the background, or the correct picture image of the background and generate alerts if it changes, or it can be dynamically updated and learn from the background changes, but major, significant changes also will be alerted. Generic events are all those type of events can be generated by third-party devices, perhaps that do their own analytics and through a driver like Unviv, generate a generic event to the system. Or perhaps a camera has, for example, digital input and outputs connected to certain sensors, and the sensors generate these or trigger basically an alert in the camera. The camera driver that is integrated in our software can utilize those digital input alerts as a generic event that later on in our macro engine can be utilized to do other actions or automated responses to those alerts. Through the API, I mentioned it earlier, this API license, we offer integration, basic level integration included in the regular licenses when you acquire a license without an API add-on license, then you do not get all these extra options or availability to do all their integrations or third-party integrations if you don't acquire the full API license. But the basic API license that is already included do allow certain level of integration, and we have a detailed information in our website, or if somebody needs this type of information, we can forward to you what is really included on each type of license, the included API or the extra add-on API. But again, it's the interface that provides full integration with third parties like you see here listed, or perhaps another system that wants to develop an integration with our software too. The API license also adds other functionalities or includes other functionalities besides just, the third-party integration, which are the RTSP server and SMTP server functionalities that can be used from the management server. And another add-on license is the failover server, which is a backup server that can be installed in systems to provide redundancy of the operation of certain servers in the system. If any of the server hardware perhaps fail or crashes or is down for whatever reason, the failover server can monitor these servers, existing servers in the system, and take over the control of any of those that perhaps fail and become that server in the system so the system continue the operation. One of the features that is also included, which is very strong in my opinion, and this is the feedback that we've seen from ITS customers and highway and DOT customers, whether it's city level, state level, is the video wall. It's included in our system. You don't need extra license for that, but it's also flexible and easy to configure. And we will see more information in futures and next slides that we're gonna present it to you today, some examples of it. License that we offer in this software, we have a start license, which is kind of like a no-cost 4-channel basic introductory license that can be obtained through our portal and also emailed to any customer who's interested to try our software, to get familiar with it, to get a feeling of how it is, and so on. This start license provides that limited functionality to kind of initial steps to get familiar with, or perhaps once you are actually a customer using this type of software, you want to have a start license on your own small lab or test bench to test, to practice, to learn just more about how to use the software without actually playing with the live system. You can use this type of license for that purpose as well. We offer basic license, which is for smaller systems, up to 32 channels per server and maximum 5 servers per system. You can use the basic license to build smaller systems like that, or the next level up, which is basically a pro system or the pro version, which is multiple server. They have really a limit on number of servers that can be added to the system. It does require the hardware be estimated properly so you can, expand your system to that level of size and volume of servers and channels that you would like to be able to manage in your system. But the software itself doesn't limit the number of servers. It does have a software limit of 500 channels per server, Again, the real limitation is from the hardware, depending on what the server is going to be doing with every camera that's connected to it, whether it's just simply video, no recording, or it's video and recording, or if it's video and analytics, and so on. The basic system or license type accepts up to 3 simultaneous users connections per server, while the Pro offers up to 256 simultaneous connections per server. So again, this is not the limit of accounts that you can create or user accounts that you can create in the system. It's just the number of simultaneous connections that you can have in every server. Again, the virtualization is supported, and the add-ons are mainly supported on the Pro version. So virtualization, add-ons, and the multi-server management add-ons functionalities are supported only on the Pro version. The warranty. Our software includes a 1-year warranty. The first year is included in support, of course, as well. But we do offer extended plans for extended warranties. So we have the standard warranty, and we have the extended warranty, or we call it the upgrade and warranty plans, SU plans, which can be purchased during perhaps the acquisition of the software or during the first year. And the numbers of years that you would like to purchase will determine the cost of the warranty with the percentages that you can see here on your screen. All right, so let's take a look to the software itself. So in this next session, we're gonna see the software screenshots and some of these functionalities, key features that I already spoke in the previous slides. Now we're going to see it and actually how they look like and what they can actually do, or more or less an idea, so you get a feeling of what the software does and offer. So the first is flexible logging options. Like any other software, Windows or any other VMS software, they have a standard login, right, which requires the user to specify a server address and your username and passwords. But besides those basic functionalities, we offer a multilingual interface, but from the login screen all the way to the end of the user, all the options internally in the software, can be used multilingual, or each login can be configured or pre-configured to do automatically process of the login all the way since the application is being executed in your Windows PCs. The login splash window can open up automatically, populate the information that is needed for the login for a particular user, and continue the login process in an automated way instead of manually doing so. Or perhaps you save part of the information, but you leave the password open, of course, or blank, so that the users enter the proper password for their logins. We offer dual login, also security level, which means certain systems you may require that more than one user enter the passwords, one after the other or almost simultaneously, let's say, so these users can have access to the system. So this is a higher level of security, but it's also possible to be done through our system. The software has its own database and user management interface. Nevertheless, if you have your Windows Active Directory, which many customers do, in the same network where the CCTV system is operating, which not everybody does, but if you do, then you could integrate our system to the Active Directory for the initial simple LDAP, basically, or LDAP connection to your system. So the user accounts that are created on your Active Directory and password will also work in Sense, but basically just for the authentication part. All the authorization and all the accounting can have to be done internally in Sense through the user management interface. Also, the other option for the logins is the video wall. Video wall offer a very easy way to configure a computer that is going to be dedicated as a video wall to operate in the system as a video wall. You can set up the automated login for the video wall PC, so it automatically starts and connects to the system and actually even load the templates or layouts that the video wall is designed to do so. And now we're going to travel through several screens just to show you how these options look like in our software. So we have live view for operators. Very easy. This is just a simple standard 2x2 design. But you can see in the next slide that we do have other types of interfaces that can be created, where you can, customize and build your own interface. And for us, an interface, when it's designed, it's simply to specify panels and roles, what each panel is going to do. So you specify the type of panel to do a map, to do a live video, to do a playback video, to do an event playback, or perhaps an event list, or even perhaps a layout list, and so on. So all these informations can be added to a layout. We also, like every other VMS, we also offer a playback functionalities. In our playback functionalities, 100% customizable as well. You can design it as a very standard interface like this one, which is single view. You can have multiple 2x2 or more playback in your design, and also the playback controls and playback timeline can be added to the same view or in different views. So you flexibly can, when you're designing your layouts, can select which panel type you would like to add it to the design, whether it's a playback control or timeline control or the event playback and so on. All these functionalities can be easily configured, not only on the design of the view, but also, of course, for each user access. We also support fisheye cameras, and we do the software dewarping. So if you're familiar with fisheye 360 degrees cameras or 180 degrees cameras, we can do the panoramic dewarping and create a layout that actually allows you to manipulate the rectangular view of the fisheye or 360 degrees view, like you see it here on the top section. Or you can have the fisheye view or a regular cropper area that is basically the one that you see on, as marked with these yellow box. It's basically the area that you're looking at right now on the bottom right corner. So this is another type of layout for fisheye cameras that we just obtain the fisheye stream or the 360 degree, circular view or of the camera, and we dewarp it to present it in a more rectangular way, nice, easy way to use it. And this is available on the live video, but also available on the playback. So we can do a playback similar to this, dewarp it already, and be able to digital move inside the images, like some other software call it ePTZ, where you internally, through the digital PTZ option, can navigate through the 360 degree image. So that is another type of views that we offer in our software. We can do a centralized configuration. I mentioned earlier at the beginning that this system does offer a client-server platform or architecture. And in doing so, the centralized configuration is one of the options you can use. Nevertheless, we have encountered time to time applications that they are not centralized and they would prefer to do distributed configuration type, which each server kind of manage its own system, but then you have other servers in other locations that are managed also in a centralized way, but these two locations also want to be able to see each other certain, or have access to certain cameras of the other system, and that can be done through a distributed configuration within a centralized configuration. So it's flexibly can be done centralized only, distributed only, or a combination of both. Device configuration, as many other software, is easy to add devices to the system. We support all the codecs that are available today in the market. Even though we support specific partners encoder or codecs types like Mobotic cameras, for example, uses the MX spec compression, that it's a proprietary compression. We also support that for Mobotic, using the Mobotic driver for their cameras, and so on. And the devices we support, unicast and multicast for video streaming, dual streaming, as I mentioned earlier, for high and low resolution connectivity, whether for viewing or recording, can be flexibly selected which one you prefer to use for recording and then which one's going to be for viewing, as well as the warping and built-in analytics that can be integrated through either a standard open driver or through a native driver. These built-in analytics interfaces allows the camera events to be utilized through the driver into our system. Our system offers profiles and calendars that allows every group of cameras to be configured with a specific profile that determines how do you want the camera to record, what type of stream resolution, frame rate, etc. But also when that's going to happen. It's going to happen at any given time, during the day and during the weeks. And that can be adjusted or configured such way that you're going to have cameras operating a certain frame rate during the daytime, and others in different configuration at nighttime or weekends or holidays and so on. And also, we can enable or disable the built-in analytics through these options in the profiles, like the ones that we mentioned earlier, like face detection, color detection, those motion detection analytics that are built into our software can be also configured in the profile, which cameras will utilize or not each one of these detections, and when they're going to be used. For administrative or management users, we offer a monitoring overview of all the cameras connected to the system, and a statistic shows, the traffic in the network, shows how many space has been utilized per camera on your NVR server if you're doing video recording. It also shows the amount of traffic per stream that it's every camera is putting into this server. So these statistics basically are shown per server. Even though you are in a centralized management, perhaps, you are able to switch from server to server and see the statistics for each server. And that gives you a nice administrative information to take decisions of, okay, my hardware is getting to the limit or not yet, and so on. So you can prepare for expansions or perhaps upgrades on your hardware. But also to troubleshoot, certain circumstances on cameras, whether the camera is streaming or not to the system. And why, and then look into those specific failures, if there's any. The macro server, the macro engine that I mentioned before, we offer two options, at the server level and at the user or viewer level. The macros, again, are these easy to do rules that can be built in our interface, where when you can configure trigger conditions and then you can configure action conditions. And this interface offers a list of all the triggering options that you can configure for a macro, and you can easily select from combo box a list all those trigger conditions, and the conditions can be inclusive or exclusive. And once these conditions are triggered, then you also configure a set of rules that are going to be executed sequentially. And they basically take actions or make your system to take actions for these alerts or macros that you want the system to perform. They are, again, at the server level, meaning all the macros that you create to the server level only operates at the server level, and any user connected will be affected by those macros. Or if you do viewer macros only, then only those users that have access to those specific macros will be affected by them. When I mentioned earlier that one of the strong features in the system is the customization of the view capabilities, or we call it layout, it's indeed an option that allows you to create panels in your total monitor area, and also determine what type of roles or what type of functionality that panel is going to do in the system. It can be a live video, it can be a playback, it can be a map, it can be a control device list, it can be a playback control, it can be live control if it's a PTZ dome, it can be an event list, for example, and so on. There's it's a pretty decent sized list of things that can be the panels can do. And we are of course, as the software changes over the time and new features is being added to the system, this is the concept of how we make the system better and offer more project-driven functionalities is because we can create those features and assign those to panels, if it's all possible, of course. In configuring these layouts, you can create as many layouts as needed in the system. You can share those layouts among the users in the system, or you can create a layout for specific users, groups in your system. You can also add macro buttons into these layouts, so the macro will be executed when the operator presses the button, and they do whatever the action is being configured in the macro rules to be performed. And this is also part of the layout design. And HTTP panel types or map types are also available. Today, we offer static maps type of panels. We are in the process to develop a new type of panel that will be added in the near future, which is called dynamic maps. And basically, we'll utilize GPS coordinates from cameras to be displayed on maps that are loaded through your internet connection, if you have an internet connection, or perhaps you can download some maps information to your user interface if you do not have internet connection, and then the cameras can be automatically populated in the map based on the GPS coordinate according to the map information that you have. And that is also a new feature coming soon in the near future. Monitors and video walls. Our software offers flexible number of monitors that can be added to every workstation. So the numbers of physical monitors that are connected to your workstation are the numbers of basically monitors that your user can operate and display layouts on it. But when you create video walls users in the system, you also configure those video walls machines into our system as monitors, but they are video wall types monitors, and you can configure virtual matrix on those number of monitors controlled per PC that is dedicated to do or to perform the video wall tasks. And they can be added as monitors again in the system, and operators who have the privilege in their user accounts to utilize and control the video walls can openly pick any monitors on the video wall and display layouts and whatever the layout information is designed to do so. They can manipulate them remotely from their own workstation. They can even take control of those layouts that are being displayed in any given video wall, PC, or monitor, and then do changes and then refresh it back to the video wall and so on. And plugins into our system means all these API third-party integrations options, and also like the RTSP server, like the SMTP server, and other these functionalities can be managed as an admin user, and can be enabled, disabled, and configured to tune up the performance of each one of these features through the same configuration interface in our software. So far we have spoke about the Sense and show you all these different screenshots of options and features. To finalize our webinar today, I want to jump into the next session, which is web interface. What do we offer, which is actually included, and there is no extra cost for this software as a web access or I/O devices interface. So let's take a look inside these interface. Similar to the previous screenshots that we just review, those are basically native software, meaning our VMS client or workstation software, right? It offers that functionality, those functionalities that we already spoke about, whether as an operator or as an administrator can, once they log into the system, according to their user privilege, the layouts, the options and menus will display according to what they're being given. Every one of these users also has access to the web through a web browser or through their mobile device. If your system has the capability to allow connectivity through either internal network or external to internal network to be able to access the system via web browsers and mobile devices. And again, these functionalities are also configured within the plugin interface that we just reviewed, And that one of those plugins is the HTTP server plugin that controls this interface and this access, and the port that they're going to use to access what kind of security port you want to open to do this type of access and so on. All those, once they are configured in the system and allow it through your networks, then you can connect using a Chrome or Firefox or a Microsoft Edge browser to the system and be able to display live video and so on. So we're going to just pass through some of these slides that show you an example of how they look like. So it's very similar look and feel compared to the Sense Client native program. The web interface offers a more limited capabilities because of the web limitations. You can see live video up to 2x2 view simultaneously, but you can have a list of all the cameras in your system, but you only will be able to simultaneously see up to 4. But we have a couple other layouts that we type of view that we offer, like 2x2, 2x1, or a single full screen shot. And you can do double click back and forth to switch between each layout to the full screen and back to the previous layout that you selected. And also you can do a little functionalities on the playback, limited to 24 hours of footage you can access through the web interface. You can also export certain images, like snapshots of that footage that you are obtaining through the web interface or through your mobile device, and save them to then you can share it through any other type of application that you have on your devices. Of course, when you are you're manipulating through the web interface or through the mobile device, you can do some PTZ control presets. So all those cameras that have movement, like PTZ domes or PTZ cameras, or perhaps even fisheye cameras that has configured digital PTZs presets. You can also access those from the web interface or the mobile device directly by easy manipulating and selecting which preset you want the camera to move and point to. You can also see the events. So when you have motion events, when you have analytics events, or like the LPR detection, object recognition, face detection, color detection, all those types of events, you can see them through the web interface, and you can see a snapshot of that particular event capture. And if you click on it or double click on it, you will be able to see the 24-hour footage of that particular event directly through the web interface. And you can, again, export. I'm not sure I mentioned the export capabilities on the playback. You can export on MPEG-4 only when you're using the web interface or the mobile device. If you use the native, of course, program, you can export on the proprietary format, which includes the player, but also on the MP4 clips types. System notifications. Similar way, like the event list, this is just basically an alert that pops up on your either mobile app or web browser to indicate there's something happening on your system that you should be looking into it. And we also have push notification, which is what I just said about mobile devices notifications. So you can get an alert on your mobile device to know that there's something it's important to be reviewed. The macros that you configure through the native application, the native client application, can also be triggered or basically executed from the web interface based on those macros, of course, that have been given access to each viewer macro. So when you have a viewer macro created for a particular user or group of users, you can also execute these macros through from the web interface to perform, of course, automated tasks in your system. And last but not least is because mobile devices normally require some tuning and some adjustments on your, on the application because of the bandwidth and the restrictions on your connectivity. There are future general settings that can be configured on these apps to basically improve, if possible, the operation of the applications in your devices. All right. So far, these are the overall information that we'd like to share today, and I appreciate you guys' time, available time. I will invite Connor and Kai to open up the question sessions if you'd like to ask some questions. please feel free to do so, and we will answer those as we receive them.
Great, thanks, Josman. We'll get going on the Q&A process, so please use the chat feature within your GoToWebinar toolbar if any questions come up. But before we get started, just wanted to let everyone know that Western Systems has a full lineup of webinars this month. They will be every Tuesday and Thursday, so just make sure you're on the lookout for those. And we'll go ahead and dive into the Q&A. So Josman, first question from you is, can you expand on the transcoding engine for limited bandwidth? How does it work, and what is required to utilize it?
Excellent. Thank you for the question. Yes, the transcoding is a module that is included in the software, and you can configure basically the resolution size that you want to limit the connections in the system. And that basically translates the amount of bandwidth that is going to be streamed out from the server to each user, whether it's the connection is established through the Sense native software or through the web interface as well. So we offer this transcoding to take the H.265 video stream, perhaps H.264 or any other type, and convert that to an MJPEG stream that will be shared through the web interface, if that is the case, or if it's a native software talking to the system, it will basically reduce the amount of bandwidth that user will be able to use on his session to obtain 1, 2, 3, or as many live streams it's requesting. So by the resolution, you can control the bandwidth, and you can also specify in percentages what is the quality you want that video to be transcoded to. And it's all done through the plugin interface and also through the server configuration interface. You can set that transcoding for the connections from that particular server to the users and sessions that are open to the system.
Great. Next one for you is, what operating systems are supported?
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, we support mainly Windows operating system. It can be Windows 10 Professional, it can be Windows Server, different versions. Detailed information is available on our software data sheet, but I know we offer Windows 2008 Server all the way up to 2016, if I'm not mistaken. We do not offer compatibilities yet with other platforms like Macintosh or Linux yet.
All right, and this next one I think maybe for Kai, is Siqura on the state contract?
Hi, yes, sorry, just had to unmute myself there. Yes, it is. So any public agency, I guess in Washington or even Oregon, is able to buy off the state contract. All of the products are covered under there, and I think most of our deployments that we have been purchased using that purchasing mechanism. So definitely feel free to reach out for a price quote, and we're normally able to turn them around in 24 hours if we know all of the things you guys are looking for in a system. So thanks for the question.
Thanks, Kai. Next one is, do you have any instances of police and traffic collaborating on Sense?
Yes, actually, that's a great question. We do, and we have actually deployed systems where the ITS is collaborating with police enforcement, and each department or organization or state organization decide how to do so. We offer multiple options. One could be a limited access depends on their own network connection they have. If they have a VPN network connection between the police enforcement and the ITS network, they can utilize that to have a native client application to connect to them and obtain access to certain number of cameras that you want them to take control. Perhaps even configure certain profiles for them that can be activated by them only when they need it to do on-time recording for something that they need to start investigating if it's needed, because we know that ITS does not mostly do recording, but police enforcement do. So perhaps that it's important to be known in advance so we can suggest what kind of server device you would need for your viewing only application part, but also for the storage part for the police enforcement, when they need to do a recording and then do some forensic searches and investigations with that recording. Again, they can use the Sense native interface, or they can use the web interface to access their system as well. If you have, through the same network connectivity, maybe just web access permitted and nothing else. So we do have more technical, detailed information of what ports our system utilize on every connection, whether it's a client, native client connection or a web interface connection. And we offer those when needed to the network team so they can properly configure the connectivity and the communication to be able to share the access to the cameras, from the police department to when connecting to the ITS departments.
Hey, let me add to that too, Connor, real quick. For an application close to home here, over in Walla Walla, they've got about 35 intersections, and they have 4 ways of iTeris video detection at each of their standard intersections. And the police department they don't have a lot of overlapping functions with the street department at all. But the story goes that one of the police chiefs said, "What are all those cameras for?" And somebody explained to them that they were traffic detection cameras. They weren't being recorded, and they weren't weren't being viewed by anybody. And the policeman asked, would it be possible for us to actually see a video feed? And he went and looked at it, and video detection cameras, just like any camera hardware, has been improving over the years, and you actually get a really good video from a lot of these. So the police department, which had a separate funding source from the general traffic department, said, "Hey, we'd like to put in a video management platform and pull the cameras from the traffic department." And so we did a webinar with Yosman and their police chief, and ended up setting up an RSTP feed where the police were able to pull back the video. We found their recording requirements. I think they wanted up to 30 days, and this is all separate from the street department. They were just utilizing hardware they already had out in the field. So we definitely make it easy for interagency cooperation when it makes sense like that. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Kai. That's correct. Thank you.
Great. Looks like last question for you. Can I pull a television signal into my video wall with sound?
Can you what? Excuse me. Can you repeat the question?
Can I pull a television signal into my video wall with sound?
Right. At this moment, the only option we offer to do so is actually utilizing video encoders. So you can connect your television video and audio to a video encoder that is supported by our software. It can be an Axis encoder or even a Siqura encoder. And then those encoders can be added into the system. And yes, you do get video and audio.
Great. That looks like all the questions we have. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you, Yosman. Thank you, Kai, and have a great rest of your day.
Excellent. Thank you so much.